Hello again. So this one's more about just a few things I want to note on the style and the look. Um, okay. So firstly, the circle kind of motif and colors. I wanted to do something that was minimal because in future I think we'll use more and more of student videos and like real photography, which doesn't interact well with kind of like fussy illustrations. Um, and kind of lots of kind of things going on. But I still wanted to bring a sense of youth and sort of something a little bit playful to give that feeling of like fresh, new sort of perspectives that are brought by the students. So the sort of yellow, the sort of gradient circle is kind of like this bright kind of light that represents the kind of student and what they'll kind of bring to your team. I also think the kind of minimal look allows us to use things like the logos and the videos and things um, throughout the page while still having kind of like a consistent visual style, some movement, and some character down the page. I've got for the like primary CTA, I've got the green gradient. We've been using that in the pilot collateral. That's sort of more. I've been playing with different kind of colors for that. So sort of we could use the current gradient, the current blue that we have, which would also work with the yellow. But yeah, I just kind of like cleaned it up a bit, give it that kind of like freshness. Um, then I have these little icons that I made to sort of bring in that yellow circle motive as the student. They're a little bit abstract, maybe too abstract, definitely too abstract for jazz, but um, I thought it was kind of fun. At the moment, they'd be static, but you can definitely imagine how they would kind of like float and kind of move and how we could eventually kind of do something playful with kind of shapes and like how they kind of fit together. I've got this tick for kind of proof points and checklists and things like that. And the sort of soft grey background to just break up the sort of flow and not make it sort of like one long scroll and like sort of give it some sort of something sort of solid. Again, the circles kind of like move down the page, different sizes, um, which is kind of like different character, but also creates this kind of like movement as if it's kind of following you down. Um, we've got the toggle, which we spoke about. I spoke about in the last thing. I think we often are trying to communicate a lot of stuff, and if we can find ways to kind of invite interaction, to have like content that isn't always there, so you can kind of like discover more. It allows us to kind of keep things simple and it not feel overwhelming, but also um, have the information that's needed to kind of give people peace of mind. Again, I spoke about the kind of like staggered case studies um, and the interaction sort of fading in as you scroll down, which I imagine kind of all the way down the page to give things like a bit of life and movement and invite you sort of down the page. It's also pretty minimal with like an emphasis on the logos. Like often who we work with is really like the things both students and companies get most excited about. So to have quite a blank canvas to be able to use our partner logos in quite a bold way is part of the rationale around the mostly white with just the sort of circle kind of following you down. Um, Again, I've got this kind of like faded illustration in the background to kind of represent the hiring journey and give a sense for sort of the length and that we're there all the way kind of through. And I've used this screen which matches the button to sort of give some contrast to those core things of the 3 weeks, the duration, availability, hourly rate. For this section, I've used the sort of square with the same gradient as the button. The reason for doing that here is because this is really like the solid part of how it works and about the process and function. And it also is a bit of a contrast to the circle, but I think it also sort of matches in to give a bit of visual contrast, and also like the corners sort of blockiness is like process structure, like it's going to work. As for the screenshots, I'm not sold on what I'm going to do for. I haven't sort of used ones that I've had before, but I think I can do better ones and pick a more relevant one. But for now, I just did the feeling of having a global view of all the students, sort of to give that kind of like visibility, and that feeling of having a bit of a dashboard, even though we don't really have that yet. We do have the company admin, so this kind of gives that feeling that they're going to have oversight of the process. Um, Again, just a sort of grey box to give some like visual contrast coming down the page. And then this image is kind of to give that young feel, but also the sort of the idea of like sort of testing and iterating together and doing something in a way that's like starting small, and it kind of is that kind of techie kind of trendy design thinking vibe that I think goes with the idea of the trial. Um, and I'm missing a sort of logo here, but that's right. Again, like I think one bit of feedback for myself and the whole thing is that there probably is too much content, and it would be good to pare it back. But this is a place to start and get feedback. And then the learn more would go to the trial guide, which I missed in the last thing. Um, yeah, and again, having some movement of the images as you kind of scroll down, so each kind of thing is coming to life as you kind of scroll past it. Cool.